सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
Namaskar. Very good afternoon to all of you. It's a great pleasure to resume our Vimarsh series of lectures and talks for 2026. So this is the first talk we are having. And I'd like to welcome you all to today's talk, which is titled The Use of Artificial Intelligence in Gyan Bharatam scheme of the government. The talk is being delivered by Shri Ramakrishnan, who is the co-founder and chairman of ImmverseAI. So welcome, Mr. Ramakrishna. We met him, I think, in November in one of our meetings here, and I was very impressed with what he is doing. That is applying AI to this very ambitious and a very vast Government of India program, Gyan Bharatam, centered around our rich heritage of manuscripts. Shri Ramakrishna is co-founder and chairman of ImmverseAI, which is apart from many other things that he does. He's an entrepreneur, and he has established and exited several businesses, as his CV says, which means that he's doing very well for himself and for the businesses. So he's an entrepreneur and an angel investor and a business builder. And he's going to talk to us about the use of AI in Gyan Bharatam. As you know, Gyan Bharatam is a scheme which has been, it was in 2003, government had launched a National Mission for Manuscripts, NMM. It's an old program. And that has now been revamped last year. And under the new name, Gyan Bharatam, I think its scope has also been enlarged, and probably more resources, something like 4,000 crores resources have been given to this scheme, which is dedicated to preserving, documenting, and disseminating India's vast and rich heritage of manuscripts. Under the NMM, some work was done, and according to government data, over 5.2 million manuscripts have been documented across India so far. And special projects have been undertaken to preserve and promote rare Sanskrit, Persian, Arabic, and manuscripts in other languages. So far, approximately 3.5 lakh manuscripts covering 3.5 crore folios have been digitized. And there is also an effort to build capacity and training, etc. So it's a vast and very welcome mission to preserve Indian heritage. The task involves digitization, categorization, and translation of the manuscripts. And here AI will play a very important role. We are in a new age. I think the earlier program progressed, but somewhat slowly. Probably the results were underwhelming and they could have been better. But now there is a renewed vigor and hope that this program succeeds. Because as India aspires to become Viksit Bharat, of course, we'll have to work on all aspects, economic, political, security, military, and so on. But at the same time, it is also essential that we build or strengthen, rather, let's say, strengthen our identity of being a civilizational state, a country with massive heritage, a country which was number one for more than a millennia, maybe 2 millennia in the world in various ways. A country which was truly the Vishwaguru at one point of time, and where the bad days fell on us and we kind of lost that But today I am told that there are estimated about 1 crore manuscripts which remain to be seen, digitized, preserved, disseminated, and so on. And they are in so many languages, India being so diverse. So I think this Gyan Bharatam program, if it works properly, this will add to our identity building program or mission, which is so very important. If we have to, we can't be just another China or US. We have to be a unique India. As in Vivekananda's word, a Vishwaguru. But we don't use that word, shouldn't use that word before we actually become a Vishwaguru. So थोड़ा मैं, but फिर भी अपने आपस में एक समझने के लिए we know what we are talking about, which is that this rich repository of ideas, we have to really first understand what they are. And for centuries, we kind of neglected that. So hopefully this program will contribute to that direction. I was trying to think of what are the examples where manuscripts have really helped us. I couldn't think of too many, but I thought of one which came to my mind, and which was the Arthashastra manuscript, which accidentally came to the Mysore Oriental Library to Shama Shastri in, I think, 1904. And as a result, we have a complete manuscript of Arthashastra. I'm sure there are many, I don't know, maybe you can tell us which are the other areas where there must be manuscripts in Natya Shastra, cuisine, Ayurveda, etc. So unless we go back to those manuscripts, we will not really know what India was. And there are very few publications. You know, we started publishing, I mean, Arthashastra came to kind of light only in 1904, just imagine. And if that manuscript had been lost, we would have lost the Arthashastra, complete Arthashastra itself. And even today, when we discuss, we find that whether it's our Puranas or whether it is Ayurveda, whether it is many other Natya Shastra, only the manuscripts are available in fragments. And perhaps we have stopped reading those manuscripts because the ability to read those manuscripts is also been lost. And the languages, we don't know Sanskrit, we don't know Arabic, we don't know Persian, we don't know anything. All our regional languages are basically regional languages. No great effort has been done to preserve manuscripts in that. So the situation is pretty dire, I would say. In fact, once I had gone to Ulaanbaatar, and there they told me that in their national library, there are about 1 million Buddhist manuscripts which are there in that library. And they asked India to preserve those and digitize those manuscripts. And under the ICCR, we did send some people who spent there exactly for 4 months. And because the government did not give them a longer tenure, they said, we'll replace it after 4 months. That 4 months, now there is still a gap. And in that gap, now the Americans have gone in and they are now digitizing those Buddhist manuscripts. But if you probably could do something with those manuscripts, you may have a completely new understanding of Buddhism. And I'm sure this is the case with other. In fact, we are in touch with one Gitarth Ganga. You would remember Rajivji. The Jain, this is an institute in Ahmedabad. They have under, I think, 108 big subjects and 15,000 sub-subjects. They have digitized about 150,000 Jain manuscripts, and now they have a database. It took them 30 years to make that. But with AI, I suppose it can be done in about 30 minutes, hopefully. So ये एक हमारे पास मौका है where we can use technology, but I think it's not just using the technology and putting something in the shelves and putting it in वो पोर्टल में मैंने देखा है कि उसमें भी आपके NMM पोर्टल में कहीं how many are there so far 3.5 lakh manuscripts have been uploaded. I was wanting to see at least one or two of these before I came here, but I just got distracted to some other meeting, so I couldn't do that. But who is reading those? This is another thing. उसको पढ़ने की क्षमता भी होनी चाहिए. So this should become part of our study of our civilization. So just making manuscripts and making a museum is not going to. So I think capacity building, getting them into our curriculum, getting them into daily discussion, etc. This is also very important. And it's quite possible that if you put them on portal, there may be the departments of, academic departments in Harvard University, XYZ, who anyway have run away with the narrative. They may take these manuscripts, run away with them, build their own narratives, come back to us, and then we'll say, yaar, ye aisa likha tha, main pata nahi tha. So it's a very serious issue that we are talking about. So thank you very much, Ramakrishnan ji. We look forward to hearing from you. Over to you.
Namaskar, Dr. Arvind. You have sort of summed up so nicely the last 15 minutes, sort of taken the whole length and breadth of what this topic is about. And I'm going to sort of move around in that vicinity. Sabhi ko namaskar, my dear brothers and sisters of this Bharatvarsh. Very interesting point that we are standing at. It's a great inflection point that we are currently. And through some of the slides, we'll try to do a Vimarsh on this subject. And what better platform there could be than this Vivekananda International Foundation, right? Remembering what Swami Vivekananda did. Swami Vivekananda by far is the reference point to bring back the past glory to the Western world and the point that we are here today. Of course, AI is that inflection point, but the first and original inflection point has been Swami Vivekananda. And I have a beautiful rendering of that coming from Chandogya Upanishad at the end, and why Swamiji is a reference point. Of course, AI cannot be a bigger reference point. So just to set the context, Arvind, you've already set the context, but just to sort of put it in perspective in a manner, calibrated manner. The whole human civilization's wisdom has been encapsulated, embedded in our manuscripts, in our Pandulipiya. And why do I say that? Let's try and understand. It is said that, of course, it's not mathematically exactly correct because no one sort of knows today how many manuscripts existed. But a rough estimate that we have been doing over the last couple of years is Bharatvarsh had 5 crore plus manuscripts. 5 crore plus manuscripts. And this does not include the Shruti Parampara, right? We have been known for Shruti Parampara, the Vedic corpus, as they say. Corpus means both written and oral, is one of the largest corpus, right? And that has been coming through ages, and it is timeless. No one wants to put a time. There is no accurate date that we can put there. It's timeless, has come through Shruti Parampara, and then Smriti, and then you had Purana, Itihas, obviously Upanishads before that, Smritis, all of that. So we had 5 crore written manuscripts. We are coming to the written part of it, 5 crore manuscripts. How many of them exist? And you are absolutely right, Dr. Arvindji, you said about 1 crore of them exist today. We don't know exactly, we've not yet put an exact number, a value on the head of it, but 1 crore plus exist. A mere 52 lakh has been documented in terms of where they are. They are in 50 plus countries. Large parts of these manuscripts are still in the UK, in the libraries in UK, Germany, France, Italy, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Thailand, right? Pakistan, right? China, Tibet. So a 52 lakh have been documented. Now today, the idea is to identify them and digitize them, build a cooperation between countries and digitize it and put it in the Gyan Bharatam portal. Earlier it was called National Manuscript Mission, and now it's called Gyan Bharatam. It's being relaunched by Honorable Prime Minister on February 2025. So the idea is to put everything, digitize it and upload it. But merely a 3.5 lakh, as you rightly said, sir, has been digitized. Lot of work to do. It's another civilizational work that we have to do for the civilizational work that has been done. Maybe it's a Rishi Rin. It's the Rishi Rin we have to repay. You have to repay back the loan, right? That's the work we all have to do. But why should we do it at the first place? Why should we do, what should we do with these artifacts? Are they like the wall paintings? Are they to be preserved in a library and I say, hey, I have got 108 manuscripts with me in my library? Is that what we need to do as Bharatvarsh, as people of Bharat? In fact, hundreds of domains, and 100 is an understatement, hundreds of domains, hundreds of knowledge embedded in the domain can be unlocked. What kind of domain? They are not religious domains. They may be dharmic domains. They may be domains in the scientific realm. Rather, it's a scientific domain that the embedded knowledge can be unlocked from these 1 crore plus manuscript that exist today. What kind of domains? Cosmology, astrophysics, physics, geodesy, arthashastra, economics, ganit, mathematics, cosmology, you name it, criminology, nyaya, legal, you just name it. Maybe 100 will be much less. These knowledge hold absolute truth. Om Tat Sat. These are the supreme truth that is embedded in these manuscripts. And that is the reason why we should all be excited about these manuscripts. They are not just dollar value that we need to put to them. It is a civilizational wisdom. A wisdom of the whole humanity on planet Earth is coded, embedded in these 1 crore plus manuscripts. So given the civilizational wisdom that's out there, another inflection point after obviously Swami Vivekananda's iconic Chicago address, and thereafter Chicago address was the turning point. It was not the only holy grail, it was the turning point to show the world. Is another inflection point which we can sort of contribute in as our rightful duty is unlocking this knowledge with the power of AI. Right? Obviously, AI is boon or bane. Obviously, it's definitely more a bane than a boon. But as Bharatvarsh, can we convert that into a boon? Is what the next few slides is going to talk about. How do I click this? I want someone to play this click button. Oh yeah. So okay. So after the advent of street bada, after the advent of this chat GPT and the whole LLMs, let us try and understand what has AI done to Bharat. We need voice as well. So what has it done? So the basic problem statement with all large language, I'm saying all large language models, they are called LLMs, large language models, Bhasha model. In simple words, we may call it chat GPT, right, for lack of words. योगदान दिया था, परंतु इस बात का कोई प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण नहीं है कि वर्तमान So these large language models, प्राचीन भारत का विद्युत एवं बैटरियों के आविष्कार में कोई योगदान रहा है? प्राचीन भारत ने विज्ञान, गणित और प्रौद्योगिकी के क्षेत्र में महत्वपूर्ण योगदान दिया था। तो इस बात का कोई प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण नहीं है कि वर्तमान समय में समझी जाने वाली विद्युत या बैटरी का आविष्कार प्राचीन भारत में हुआ था। फिर भी कुछ रोचक तथ्यों की चर्चा की जा सकती है। क्या प्राचीन भारत का विद्युत एवं बैटरियों के आविष्कार में कोई योगदान रहा है? हाँ, प्राचीन भारत धातु कर्म और रसायन शास्त्र में समृद्ध था और
और महर्षि अगस्त्य ने अपनी अगस्त्य संहिता में इसका उल्लेख किया है। संस्थाप्य मृण्मये पात्रे ताम्रपत्रं सुसंस्कृतं छादयैच्छिखिग्रीवेण चार्वाभिः काष्ठपाशुभिः दस्तालोष्टो निधाद्वयः पारदाच्छादितस्ततः संयोगा जायते तेजो मित्रा वरुण संदिता। अर्थ, एक मिट्टी का बर्तन लें, उसमें तांबा का पटिया अर्थात कॉपर शीट डालें तथा शिखिग्रीवा अर्थात कॉपर सल्फेट डालें। फिर बीच में गीली आरी की धूल अर्थात वेट सॉ डस्ट लगाएं। ऊपर पारा मर्क्यूरी तथा दस्तलोष्ट जिंक डालें। फिर तारों को मिलाएंगे तो उससे मित्रावरुण शक्ति अर्थात बिजली उत्पन्न होगी।
इतने सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, ये एक झलक है। ये इसीलिए हो रहा है क्योंकि LLMs are being trained on a very simple way. They are just scraping the internet. It's very easy to scrape an internet and train an AI model. And large parts of the internet is the Wikipedia. We know the culprit. And Wikipedia is completely anti-India. What kind of anti-India? मतलब क्या? In simple words, ये तो बहुत सुंदर उदाहरण दिया हमने कि क्या भारतवर्ष ने बैटरी या ऊर्जा बोलिए, ऊर्जा में कोई योगदान किया हुआ है? तो द मॉडर्न आंसर नहीं, कोई है नहीं ऐसा कुछ, ये तो नहीं किया हुआ, ये तो मॉडर्न डे बैटरी से, मॉडर्न डे बिजली है, बट इट हैज इवॉल्व्ड ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. Christian Schonben in the University of Berlin took inspiration from this, and there's a recorded history. And how Nikola Tesla got inspired, and they have all filed patents on this at the fundamental level. Of course, this is not the modern day battery, but this is how technologies evolve. ज्ञान से विज्ञान बना, विज्ञान से तंत्रज्ञान बना, ज्ञान से knowledge to science, science to technology. This journey has been there, and how many of them? Not 1 crore, my dear friends. Few crores. Each of these treaties, 60, 70, 80 folios in one manuscript, would have few hundred such Brahmavakya, Mahavakya, right? Which has been the inspiration, right? And a lot of people disbelieve this. A lot of people disbelieve, and we'll come to some of the examples which are exactly believable. For example, let's talk about zero. We say Aryabhatta did it. Of course, we talk about it. But where is it written? Is it written in Aryabhatta itself? But well before Aryabhatta, there is a manuscript in the UK libraries called Bakshali manuscript, right? Which was discovered in Peshawar, which has the first ever symbol of zero. And it was not a zero, it was not a hollow circle at that time. It was a dot. Shunya was dot. It was represented, Shunya was represented as a dot. And how it evolved paleographically, the Shunya evolved. And then Aryabhatta talks about it in Aryabhatyam. And then whole bunch of mathematical Kerala school and everyone talks about mathematics and lay down the foundational rules of zero. What happens to zero? What happens if you multiply by 0, 1, all of that? Right? Those foundational rules are written. When it is written, when no one thought about it. Right? And these rishis, scientists have also given a binary 0 and 1, 2 states. There are 2 states, day and night, 0 and 1. Yes or no, all these states have been thought over, defined, that became the foundational knowledge for the modern day civilization. And that is what we need to unlock with AI. But before that, what is the demon devil in front of us? These kind of tools are the demon devil. And today's school children are learning everything from these modern day LLMs. So what will they learn? They will learn what has been told to them by the technology. They are not going to listen to me. My children are not going to listen to me. They are not going to listen to the teacher. And we'll take one more small quick 30-second example on the second, if you can click. दूसरे बटन पे आप अगर क्लिक करेंगे, national security, right? A small example, DeepSeek.
भारत के अरुणाचल प्रदेश के बारे में थोड़ी जानकारी दीजिए।
You ask DeepSeek, Chinese platform.
क्षमा कीजिए, ये फिलहाल मेरी जानकारी के दायरे में नहीं आता। कुछ और रोचक बात करते हैं।
कुछ और रोचक बात करते हैं।
भारत के अरुणाचल प्रदेश के बारे में थोड़ी जानकारी दीजिए। अरुणाचल प्रदेश, जिसे उगते सूर्य की भूमि कहा जाता है, भारत का सर्वाधिक पूर्वोत्तर राज्य है, जिसकी सीमाएं उत्तर में चीन और तिब्बत, पूर्व में म्यांमार और पश्चिम में भूटान से मिलती है। भारत में यह असम और नागालैंड से जुड़ा है।
So this is so very relevant, right? So why can't we take a stand when we make India's AI like this? Why should we be always neutral? Why should we be always diplomatic in saying this? But China is not diplomatic. The global models are not diplomatic. When you talk about the flying objects, aeroplanes, Viman, flying object, whatever you ask, it will say it is alleged that one Bharadwaj wrote various technologies of flying. People in Bharatvarsh also told the same narrative. But now that's changing. That is exactly changing. When you root your answer, when I say like this, and when people are hearing, and I've talked to many Vidwans, they say, no, it's not like this. That folio has been inserted only 200 years before in Maharishi Bharadwaj's Yantra Sarvasva. When we are ourselves contesting, so what is the answer? The answer lies in embedding with an AI and saying, hey, look, this is Yantra Sarvasva, this is the folio number, this is how it was written, and it was written in this script. We have to come to scripts also, we have to come to the challenges. And this is the interpretation in a democratic way, in multiple languages, in a language which I understand, maybe Tamil, maybe English, Hindi, Tamil, Marathi, Bengali. I have to learn in that language, but I'm not believing that. So the power of AI has to be used to say, this is where it is rooted in Gyan Bharatam's repository. Please pick it up. If you don't believe it, read for yourself. Because just telling this won't help, right? That is what we were at, AI, a boon or a bane. So as we have seen, LLMs underrepresent Indic perspective and lack vertical specialization. The other way to say is they are anti-Bharat because they are obviously trained on internet because you want to do fast. You want to quickly come up with a LLM in India. How do you do it? Scrape the internet. Because you definitely can't scrape manuscripts. Why can't you scrape manuscripts? Because it is in 64 different scripts, not languages. In fact, there are 100 plus scripts. 60 plus, 64 plus scripts. What kind of scripts, right? Scripts we don't understand. Devanagari we understand. What about Brahmi, Tamil Brahmi, Grantha, Gilgit? Where are the scholars? And that's the bigger struggle that we need to. And what will we do? We will unlock the wisdom if we do this. Let us quickly come to some of the challenges that AI has in front of us. We know now the potential of AI. We know what our Grantha had. We know what AI can do and cannot do. But building an AI from Bharat has to be rooted in the manuscripts. But there are lots of challenges, right? You have to climb 7 mountains. 7 पहाड़ चढ़ने के बाद भगवान के दर्शन होंगे, ऋषियों ने जो लिखे हैं उनके दर्शन होंगे. Manuscripts are not AI trainable, and there is no end-to-end pipeline to understand in a technological manner. Right? What kind of challenges? I'm going to give a very few glimpses of this, and there are hundreds of challenges, and we've written down all the challenges that we need to solve. First is the script-related challenge, hundreds of scripts that we have. Second is manuscript, Pandulipi. Script is the script. And third, Sanskrit language itself is very rich in morphology. Some of the examples I have taken out of the 100 ancient scripts. how these scripts look, how Mahajani looks, how Brahmi looks, how Tamil Brahmi looks, how Grantha looks, right? Today, there is a huge deficit of scholars. And some of the lipis, there are no scholars, right? And in at least 20% of the scripts today, there are no scholars. A good 30-40%, there are very few of them who are in the later stage of their retirement from life, not from their jobs, right? And if they are exiting this Bharatvarsh, and then that script is gone, no one can understand. So this is the time to put all the efforts to bring all these scriptologists and and align them to the mission. Let's see some of the challenges that the script throws on us. There is a challenge on understanding the script, which is across the board. But even if we understand the script, what are the challenges, right? For a machine to understand, there is a scriptology, there is a machine, there is a model, there's a GPU. But how does the machine understand? For example, just take a very recent example of this universal truth of the word Om. Now, look at the first example of Om, right? It's a very recent one. It is not dating back thousands of years back, right? There is a paleographic and glyph variance. Glyph is the way you write. Paleography is how you write, right? How Om has been written over just the last few hundred years, and how it has varied. How it was written, let's say, in Kumara Sambhava, right? When is it? It's in 1560s. How it was written, and how it's written in the 1900s in a Bhagavad Gita. Not Bhagavad Gita in that, and when someone has written a Bhagavad Gita, right? So how this has been written, and there are hundreds of types of this one letter Om, and Sanskritam Bhasha has infinite vocabulary. But the beauty of Sanskritam is its infinite vocabulary. Now add to this permutation combination of scripts, of those hundreds of scripts. So what kind of permutation combination we are talking about? And how do you train a machine is one of the challenges that we are trying to figure out. Many of you would know we add a full stop at the end with two danda. Right? Now in this example, and this our machine threw on us, saying it read it as a. If you look at the last two highlighted box, right? It interpreted as na, because the way it's written is it's na, but it's a danda, it's a full stop. Right? The whole equation changes the moment you put a right perspective to this, right? Look at the avagraha. Avagraha can be read as da, right? And obviously these are handwritten texts, and this will vary because handwritings vary. Let us go further, right? Let us look at the halant and the dirgha. The halant in the ma can be construed as mu or mu, but it's a halant. It is pronounced differently. Let us look at numericals, Devanagari glyphs, right? 2 can be written as, it can be read as, not written as, read as ra. 8 can be read as ta, right? The other challenge is when these manuscripts were written, let's say Ayurvedic manuscript, to the left there was a Sharira Sthana, like a section. So left hand side there's a section, but how does the machine understand that's a section? Third example to the right. Is it a section or is it a continuation? And there are so many examples that we can talk about, right? While writing, right, in a computer you can go back, delete, undo all of that, cut, paste all of that. But then those scribes added something, added some missing word, added an explanation, added on the top of it, added on the side of it, added at the bottom of it. Few examples like modern day authors, like modern day. So all these throw multiple challenges in terms of AI model to be trained. How do you train compound conjunct words, right? Many of these words don't exist on the typewriter, on the QWERTY keyboard. These akshars don't exist today, right? How do you do that? Correct? This was one part of the challenge, the script related challenge. Let's come to the manuscript related challenges now. Now, this is a very typical case. It's called, in the world of AI, ink bleed through. What has happened? I've scribed, let's say, something in a certain manuscript. It could be a cloth manuscript, paper manuscript, birch bark, something. Not a copper plate or a tablet or a tablet, but I have written it with an ink. What happened? Like it would have happened with a fountain pen, right? पीछे के इसमें जो लिखा हुआ है उसका bleed through हो गया इसमें. ये जो पीछे के पृष्ठ का इसमें आ गया, तो इसे कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करेगा, राइट? हाउ डू यू denoise it, dewarp it, de-ink it, right? What kind of technology needs to be built for this? Look at this. This is a typical case. Of course, this is Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is available in so many scripts, Devanagari, Sharda, and all of that. But the example could be a Bhakshali manuscript, right? The foundational text for Ganit, right, where zero has been written for the first time. It's all in 70 folios, Sharda Lipi, in the foreign libraries, all torn like this. Can AI help us reconstruct the whole Lipi? Can we teach AI the entire way Sharda Lipi was written in that particular period? I'm not using era, because within that we may all write in different styles. For example, we are all author scribes. If you ask Hindi में, देवनागरी में, संस्कृत में, मराठी में, तमिल में, अपने भाषाओं में, गुरुमुखी में कुछ लिखिए, हम अलग अलग स्टाइल में लिखेंगे, right? But these have traveled so many years, 5,000 years at least. I don't want to not get into the discussion of dating it. It's still not known what date it is. Of course, these are dated, right? There is a section called colophones where all this metadata is captured. But think about the older ones. Then the other problem with manuscript, it is smudged. Obviously, it is smudged. Why? Because for the last hundreds of years, we have kept it in our storeroom. It is only now that we are trying to give importance to this. It is smudged, it is smeared, it is torn. How do you reconstruct that? How do you denoise it? Right? All this is possible with technology. Of course, Sanskrit. I have 2, 3, 4 minutes.
Please take it.
Yeah. Then, of course, Sanskrit, we all, many of us trying to understand Sanskrit, learn Sanskrit. Sanskrit itself is one of the most structured computational language in the world. Right? And obviously, that throws another challenge. The first part of the challenge is script-related challenges. I'm just recapping. Once you've figured out someone understanding the script, let's say I understand a script called, let's say, Brahmi. Hypothetically, I don't understand that. Very few scholars to understand Brahmi. Let's say that now I understand Brahmi, but I do not understand the domain. Let's say Leelavati is written in Brahmi. Let's say Arya Bhattiya, a scribe wrote it in Brahmi. Example. Okay, I understand Brahmi, great, very big virtue, very rare virtue. Now I don't understand Ganit. I don't understand the domain. Okay, I understand the domain, I've crossed that hurdle. The manuscript itself is torn. Okay, I figured that out, right? How do I train it? I need a variety of data sets to train. Not that like a child you give, AI is a child. But for a child you can give Bhagavad Gita and say, hey, इसको कंठस्थ करिए आप 700 श्लोकों को रोज पढ़िए. But the machine needs to be given diversity, diverse data, different data. But ये तो इतना difference है, इतना paleographic variance है इसमें. मतलब it's mind-boggling. I can't put a number to it. What is the variety of data that will come out of these manuscripts? And then we talked about scripts, we talked about manuscripts. Come to Sanskritam. This itself is so very challenging language, right? What kind of challenges? Sandhi, phonetic, is completely different, right? Chanda, I may have a conversational style of Sanskrit recital. I may have a Upanishadic Gita, for example, Bhagavad Gita is an Upanishad. I may have a Upanishadic style of saying. I may have a Rigvedic style of saying. How do you teach a model across these three, at least these three variations? swara, pauses, when to pause, right? And these kind of challenges, I'm just capturing only some of them. So given this complex problem, we are, my dear friends, we are just trying to be the squirrel on the banks of Bharatvarsh, trying to build the bridge between Bharatvarsh and Sri Lanka. What a small Gilhari squirrel did in this journey is what we are trying to do with our Bharatiya AI Foundry Lab. And believe me, it is only that much. It can't be a Vanar Sena also. It is that squirrel which is trying to build Ram Setu, right? Not Adam's bridge, the Ram Setu. Precisely the Ram Setu and precisely that squirrel. And for which we have found the ecosystem. We are building an ecosystem called Bharatiya AI Foundry Lab, which starts from AI restoration of the images to OCRing, right, which we are calling Bharatiya OCR. And then you build a Bharatiya Gyan Kosh data sets out of it. And then you build a whole new model called BharatiyaGPT. And there are a bunch of vertical models, Ayurveda GPT, Ganit GPT, right? Hundreds of domains that we talked about. And it's going to be our lifetime of work, right? I have quit from all my engagements, companies. I'm just a shareholder in 4 companies which I founded. I don't go to those companies and just got on this mission, not looking at anyone, right, for support, but just focused as a Vidyarthi, as a student, as a learner, as a contributor. The whole idea is to democratize, right? As you rightly said, sir, is it available in my local language? If it is available in my local language, I can go and at least read those foundational texts and have the right interpretation of that manuscript is the journey that we are doing. And I'll give you a small example because narrative is a word we often use, optics is a word we often use. What will happen if you do all this? ये करूं क्यों मैं? मतलब ये करना क्या है? ये मतलब ये भजन कीर्तन वाला काम है क्या? 60 साल के बाद करने वाला काम है क्या? Why should I do it now? It's a question we should ask. Correct? And I'll give you an example for this. Why should we do it now? If you can just play that small example of how it is relevant in the modern world. Click to play करें. You may have to download it.
Need to access.
Access नहीं?
No.
Huh?
No.
ठीक है. I'll explain. Maybe I need to call up. करिए आप आगे. So it gives a small example of how. So what has been India's contribution, and I'll get this sorted out. Jay, if you can just call Shubda to get this access. So what is the kind of narrative that we need to give? The kind of narrative that we need to give is modern science. How do you connect with knowledge rooted in the manuscript? For example, this was an example of Kepler, Johannes Kepler, right? Theory of planetary motion. How Aryabhatta wrote exactly, how he exactly wrote it, right? And that is the narrative that was set, and everyone got inspired, right from Aryabhatta to the modern day. I think it's working now. Great, awesome, thank you. बड़ा कर देंगे इसके लिए.
Who explained the theory of planetary motion before Johannes Kepler?
केपलर से हजारों वर्ष पूर्व प्राचीन भारतीय खगोल शास्त्री आचार्य आर्यभट्ट ने अपनी आर्यभट्टियम नामक ग्रंथ के कलाक्रियापाद अध्याय में समय विभाजन एवं ग्रहों की गति से जुड़े नियम दिए. पृथ्वीमंडल का भ्रमंति सर्वे ग्रहाः स्वचारेण बंधुच्चादनुलोमम प्रतिलोमम चैव शीघ्रोच्चार 17वां श्लोक 3रा अध्याय कला क्रियापादः आर्यभटीयम।
অর্থ প্রতিটি কক্ষপথে গ্রহগুলি তাদের নিজস্ব গড় গতিতে চলে। অপভূ অর্থাৎ দূরতম বিন্দু থেকে তারা ঘড়ির কাঁটার বিপরীতে এবং নিকটতম বা দ্রুততম বিন্দু থেকে তারা ঘড়ির কাঁটার দিকে আবর্তিত হয়।
What are the similarities between the theories of Kepler and Aryabhat?
Orbits of planets. Both Kepler and Aryabhatta considered the motion of planets to revolve around a central point, the Sun. Orbite des planètes. Kepler et Aryabhatta considéraient tous deux que le mouvement des planètes tournait autour d'un point central, le Soleil.
So, if a narrative of this kind, rooted in history, rooted in manuscripts, is given to the world, right? This will be the true tribute to all the rishis. एक और है play करेंगे. This will be the true tribute to Bharatvarsh. This will be the true tribute to all the rishis. This will be the true tribute to Swami Vivekananda, to ourselves.
How a 1-inch long Vedantic Mahavakya, Ekoham Bahusyam from the Chandogya Upanishad, became a watershed moment at the intersection of cosmic Vedanta and quantum physics. Ekoham Bahusyam. This inquiry became a quest to find unity in creation and consciousness for iconic scientists and physicists like Nikola Tesla in the early 1900s. By the 1920s, Albert Einstein pursued a similar quest through what he called the Grand Unified Theory. Decades later, Stephen Hawking continued this pursuit in his 2002 work, The Theory of Everything, followed by Michio Kaku's The God Equation in 2021, and many others who still seek what Vedanta had envisioned millennia ago. Could it surprise you that the groundbreaking ideas of these scientists still draws inspiration from Vedanta? BharatiyaGPT invites you to take that quest further.
I'll spend a minute on this, and that's my last slide. It was on the sidelines of the Colombian Industrial Expo in 1893, where there was a parallel track. आज हम बोलते हैं ना conference में parallel track. There was a parallel track on Parliament of Religion. This Colombian Industrial Expo was to showcase the American prowess of 400 odd years of America's progress over Europe after it was discovered by Columbus. America wanted to show the whole world how America is the greatest country in the world. And that was the program in which Swamiji had gone. And there was an adjunct program called Parliament of Religion. And it was on the sidelines that Swamiji gave this aphorism, Eko Ham Bahusyam. What does it mean? How one has manifested into many. What does it mean? Coming from Chandogya Upanishad. Swamiji goes on to elaborate or ask or suggest or claim what is that one element from which all elements have manifested. जितने एलिमेंट्स इस ब्रह्मांड में हैं, वो पहला कौन सा मूल तत्व है जिससे सारे तत्व बने हैं या जिनकी उत्पत्ति हुई है? आप है, मैं हूं, ये टेबल है, ये टीवी है, स्क्रीन है, सब कुछ, ये झाड़ है, पेड़ है, पौधे हैं. He goes to ask, what is that one energy? And we are all made of elements and energy and or energy. What is that one energy from which all energies have manifested? Right? I stand up and salute your energy. Right? You are one energy, I am one energy. We are all one. level of energy with some level of consciousness. What is that one energy from which all of us have manifested? And he goes on to say, asks Nikola Tesla, can you explain it in a 1 inch long mathematical formula? इसको एक छोटे से फॉर्मूला में आप दे सकते हैं क्या? एक गणितीय सूत्र में आप बना सकते हैं क्या? So Nikola Tesla was very excited. He had a Vedantic mindset. I do not know whether he had read Vedant, Ved, Upanishad, all of that before meeting Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla is considered to be the super genius who had huge contribution in free electricity. Then you have Tesla, right? A lot of inventions have been done. He was a poor cousin. I mean, he died in poverty because he could monetize his ideas. Like Thomas Alva Edison is celebrated, Nikola Tesla is not celebrated. So Nikola Tesla was very excited and he took this idea, sir, and tried to work on it, but he couldn't finish it.
From whom?
On this conversation, Ekoham Bhahusyam, from Swamiji's. Yes, he had met Swamiji. But he couldn't finish it in his lifetime. Albert Einstein got inspired from this idea of what Nikola Tesla was working on. And that became the inspiration. And there are a lot of material written out there, how Albert Einstein is also inspired by our thought process, Vedic thought process, Vedantic thought process. They're loosely used words. And he took it from there to create the grand unified theory, the field theory, the grand unified theory. And all of this, the inspiration lies in that 1 inch long formula of Ekoham Bhahusyam. And then it failed in 2 points, the Big Bang and the black hole. He himself says, Albert Einstein himself says. And then Stephen Hawking took it up and called it the theory of everything. And today you have Michio Kaku, the American-Japanese theoretical physicist, who has written a book called The God Equation. These kind of narratives, who's going to tell to the whole world? And these narratives have to be rooted onto the manuscript. Unless if they are rooted onto the manuscript, and that brings me to the last point of AI in Gyan Bharatam. It has to be rooted into the manuscripts. Why should it be rooted in the manuscripts? Because the world is not going to believe. The moment you start telling these kind of stories, we do not want to call these historical truths as mythology. We want to root it into the manuscript and then tell the whole narrative to the world. And thank you. That brings me to the last slide. And you've been a very good audience. Namaskar. Thank you.